Hello everyone, this is a requested video. I'll be doing a Light Cleric Paladin build guide for Baldur's Gate 3. This is a pretty nice multi-class because the Light Cleric is honestly quite powerful. It's definitely an S-tier class. So we're going to start off as the Cleric, obviously. The Light Cleric only gets medium armor, but we're wearing medium armor here, and it's actually one of the best armors in the game. But as far as our cantrips go, we're going to get right into things here. I think that Resistance, Guidance, and Sacred Flame are kind of the best three picks for the Cleric, because Resistance and Guidance both can be used during dialogue options, and then Sacred Flame is a radiant damaging spell early on. Not the best, but we're not going to be using that for a majority of this. So going with the Light domain here, we get the Burning Hands and Fairy Fire. Then our subclass feature, so shield yourself in Divine Light, use your reaction, impose disadvantage on an attacker, possibly causing them to miss their attack. So that's quite nice, just for added defense with only the medium armor. But I'm going to show you why that doesn't matter a whole lot. Now, as far as your deity goes, this is all up to your role playing. Honestly, I think that Selune is a pretty decent choice. I'm sure there's one here that fits best for your own role-playing purposes, so I'm not going to choose which one of these you pick. But as for the ability scores, now, this is interesting because we can go a few different ways with it. With a Paladin, we do need some Charisma, but I'm actually just going to leave the Charisma at 12 because it doesn't actually impact things as much as you might think it does. Wisdom, we obviously want as high as possible. If this is your Tav or Dark Urge, it'd be best if you use the Hag's here to take that up to 18. Intelligence can stay around there. Now, I have the Gloves of Dexterity on. This actually opens things up a lot for us because this is a multi-attribute dependent build. So if you're in Act 1, you can get these pretty early on, and we can take the Dexterity down and just leave the gloves on. But if you want, you can also keep the Dexterity at around, I would say 14, just for the +2 to Initiative. But for the purpose of this build, I'm actually going to dump Dexterity just because you can get these early on, and they make the build so much better. And then we can take our Constitution up a little bit, as well as our Strength. And we can take something around this looks good. And then you maybe go one more point into Intelligence. So Wisdom, obviously we want that maxed out as much as possible. You could take a point out of your Wisdom if you don't have the Hag's Hair. But assuming you do have the Hag's Hair, that would make that 18, and then you can use an ability score to upgrade that. But we're going to go with this for the stats, as this is a pretty powerful build, and I'm going to show you how it can get strong. So we'll get right into things here. So the Paladin can add heavy armor to this build, but honestly, for the purposes of this, medium armor is not too bad. Like, just looking at our armor class, we got 27 armor class without even going into any level, so that's quite good. At level 2, we get the turn to all undead that you see, and we get our class action, Radiance of the Dawn. So this is a 3 to 21 damage, and the Sun's Divine Power dispels any magical darkness, so this is good for clearing out darkness, this is more so for, like, you know, defensive purposes. But as far as our level 1 spells go, we're going to take off Cure Wounds. Healing Word is fantastic. Bonus action. If a teammate goes down, pick them back up. And Guiding Bolt's fantastic. I like to have Create or Destroy Water as well. I think that's a very powerful spell, especially if you have a sorcerer or anyone that has lightning spells, because you can cast this and it'll double the damage of that, which is extremely powerful in Baldur's Gate 3. We're also going to go with, I like Command a lot. Command is a fantastic spell, and Bless. Alternatively, you can take Sanctuary if you have Bless from somewhere else, or you can get Command from the Paladin as well. So Sanctuary is a fantastic spell. Your ally cannot be targeted until you attack or harm a creature. You can still take damage from area spells. We're going to go with that for our first level here, or second level. Now, what makes this Paladin, or make this build so powerful, is the fact that we're like a full caster that can hit some pretty heavy numbers in terms of damage. So we get our light domain spells, we get Flaming Spear, so there's a concentration, and it's just an extra ally to the team, so it can take hits for us. Scorching Ray, it's nice, just being able to cast that as a spell as well. It's always prepared, so we don't have to prepare it. Take off Cure Wounds. Cure Wounds kind of sucks. Spiritual Weapon. What's nice about this? It spreads aggro even further, and it's a bonus action, so if you have no other use for it, like if Healing Word doesn't make sense, Spiritual Weapon. It's fantastic. Another option, Hold Person, one of the best spells in the entire game, because you can hold an enemy, upcast it, hold a ton of enemies, and attacks from 3 meters are always critical hits. That's just flawless. So we're going to take that at our next level up here, and we also get another feat. So at level 4, this is where things get a little stronger, and next level is where the big power spike happens. We'll take Produce Flame. I'm a drow, so I don't have the Flame Bolt from being a high elf, but yeah, we're going to take hold person with our next spell slot there. Now, there is some merit in taking aid. Aid's actually not a bad one because it can increase maximum health points by 5 hit points, and you can also upcast that so it does even more. As far as our first feat, we'll pretend we took the Hag's Hair, take that up to 18, and then we can pump our wisdom up to 20, which will give us another spell slot, and actually 2 spell slots if we have the Hag's Hair. Now at level 5, this is where we get Destroy Undead, so when we use Turn Undead, it can also damage them for 4 to 24 radiant damage, which is fantastic. But I want to draw your attention to here. This is the big ups. We get Daylight, which is okay, but we also get Fireball. Fireball is, as you know, awesome spell. 4 to 48 damage. There's a 8d6 of fire damage. Always prepared. This is like a pretty big source of damage for us early on. Now, we're going to take off that healing spell again. And Spirit Guardians is probably one of the best spells in the entire game for the Cleric. Now, what we can do is we can set this up. It's a concentration. We can just run around damaging people and having their movement speed, which is really nice. Mass Healing Word is also great because there's a ring that we can get that'll give Bless on heal. And we can just set everyone up with Bless just by healing them. That is super overpowered. But also, I really do enjoy Glyph of Warding because no concentration. You can set it up. You can have a Glyph of Sleep. And if you have undeads, like if you have a necromancer or if you use undead spells yourself, they don't get distracted by the Glyph of Sleep. So these actually work together very well. But that's what we're going to take for level 5 here. Fireball being a big boon for us. And then at level 6 we get the subclass feature improved Warding Flair. When an opponent attacks an ally, you can use a reaction to impose disadvantage. So it doesn't just affect us, it's going to affect our team as well. That's really nice. I think that that's a very powerful for just survivability's sake. So we're going to take Glyph of Warding on our next level here, and this is just fantastic. So no concentration, you can set up outside of battle, and it deals any type of damage you want. So with Create Water and a Lightning Glyph, it's a lot of damage. Now we get more light domain spells. We get the Wall of Fire, which is just a nice crowd control. Set up a Wall of Fire, and it does 5d8 of fire damage. So not as much as a Fireball, but still good. And we get Guardian of Faith, which is awesome. Now, for our next spell, I'm going to take Animate Dead. So, the reason I want to take this is the more teammates that you have on your side, the less hits you're going to take to your team. So, with this, we can summon a bunch of undead, use Glyph of Warding Sleep, or hold person to set up some critical hits for them. It just adds a little bit extra utility to this build, and it's honestly quite powerful. I don't see a lot of people talking about using Animate Dead often. Some people just straight up don't like it, but it's strong. It's much stronger than a lot of people think it is, because Baldur's Gate 3 is about the action economy. As a cleric, you don't want to be just spamming heals, because that's not taking out the enemies. They're still going to be there to deal damage. It's best to turn that action economy by having more undead, or any type of summon, because then you have more actions on your side to take out the enemy, take less hits yourself, win. So, yeah, for level 4 spells, we're actually just going to be using that for, like, Wall of Fire. So that's that for that level. At level 8, we get ourselves another feat, so there's 2 different ways we can go with this. We get Potent Spellcasting, so you add a Wisdom modifier to the damage you deal with Cleric spell cantrips, which is nice. So Radiant Bolt there will get a nice little boost. But for our prepared spells, you can take, like, it's tough. Like, Freedom of Movement has some usefulness if you have a teammate that's stunned or stuck in difficult terrain. Or even if you hold person, you can stop it with that. There's a few options we can go with. We can even go back and take command if you didn't have that from the, if you don't end up taking it from the Paladin. Revivify, it's another option that we can go with to revive a companion. Death Ward's not bad. Protect a creature from death. The next time damage would reduce its health to 0. It remains conscious of 1 hit point. You can take it. It's not fantastic. We do get better spells later on, so for our ability score, this is where it can get interesting because there's a few options that I think work well. Alert gives us a +5 to initiative and can't be surprised. I think it's very valuable to have increased initiative because if you can move before the enemy, you can take the enemy out before they attack you. And if you're paying attention to who's moving, you can actually attack an enemy, remove that enemy, and then your teammate can go again. So it can actually be very nice to take Alert. Warcaster is another really good one. I think Warcaster works fantastically. So you get advantage on saving throws and maintain concentration. So you're going to roll 2 dice every time that you have a concentration. So we're going to hold our concentration on Spirit Guardians a lot more frequently. And if you have a target moving away from you can use Shocking Grasp. Warcaster is fantastic, so I like that a lot. But you can also go with like Alert or an ability score improvement, take up your Constitution or Strength. But I have some alternatives for that I'll show you guys. Now, level 9. This is where we get our further domain spells. Flame Strike does fire and radiant damage, and then also we get Destructive Wave. Create a shockwave, either Divine or Malevolent Thunder, and that pushes damage to your creatures and knocks them prone. So you can do this as a radiant version or a thunder version, so it's really nice. And then we don't have to, whenever we get to this level here, we can take Insect Plague and then Planar Binding. Planar Binding is a concentration, but you can attach your consciousness to an otherworldly being, have them on your side, takes them out of the battle, and then they're your ally for 10 turns. So I think that's pretty good. And Insect Plague does have some uses. It's a big crowd control. It slows enemies down, and they take piercing damage. So if you have someone with the ballast armor, they're going to take double damage, so upwards of 80 damage from this. Quite nice. And yeah, it's nice to get those domain spells too. At level 10, this is where we get the Divine Intervention, which is a nice cleric spell. But I'm going to add in the Paladin here because yeah, we need the Paladin for this build. We get there's 2 options we go. We go the Oath of Ancients to get the healing radiance with uses lay hands charge, or we can go Oath of Vengeance to get further radiant damage. So this one's not fantastic because it does use your charisma modifier, which is just a measly +1. Oath of the Ancients kind of fits a little bit better with the healing, and it uses a channel oath charge. We don't have a lot of heals from the cleric, so we can go with the Oath of Ancients. It gives us Divine Sense too, which is nice. And there's a lay hands charges. So typically I go Oath of Vengeance, but we'll go Oath of the Ancients for this one, just because we need a little bit more healing. Now level 2, there's 2 different ways we can go about this. We can take just the 1 level of Paladin, and then we can go back to the cleric here, take a Blade Ward, and then for our spells. Oh yeah, whenever you switch classes, it's going to screw up your spell slot selection, so we have to reselect these all again, which is kind of annoying, but we'll take command, or we get the command from we'll take Bless, Sanctuary, Hold Person, Spiritual Weapon, Glyph of Warding, boom, boom, boom. Just reselecting all the spells that we previously took. And then there are some options, like, I guess, Revivify. We'll take that. And this is where it kind of goes 2 ways. So we can go the 11 Cleric Paladin 1, and we'll get ourselves the level 6 spell slots, which I think is actually the better option for this build. But you can alternatively, if you want the Divine Smites, you could also go with 5 levels of Paladin if you want the double attacks. If you really want to focus on smiting, you can go that route. But I actually think that the Light Cleric itself is such a powerful class with the casting that it gets that it's almost better to go with the full Cleric. If you go this way, take defense to give yourself a +1 armor class. Very valuable to have increased armor class in this game, especially as like a support or healing unit. And then also we can take for spells, we could take like the smites and then command. Command's really great. But like there's 2 ways we can go about doing this. Now, if we go back to cleric here, what we get from the cleric, oh, we lost all our spells again. What we get from the cleric is actually really powerful. We can get create undead, which is nice. But I think Planar Ally is the best cleric spell. So beseech one of these otherworldly entities for aid. It's a very powerful summon. It's like Conjure Elemental, but better. Blade Barrier is okay. Heal's cool. Heal actually has a special effect on the Dark Urge. So if you didn't know that, go check it out. But I think that the Planar Ally is just fantastic. So we're going to take that. I'll reattach all these spells that I took previously. And we can even take command since we're not going to take it on this character from the Paladin. So that way we still have it. But your final spell should look something like that. Or I guess we'll take that one off too. I think I'm missing one. You can go Revivify. Sanctuary, there it is. So Sanctuary, Guiding Bolt, Healing Word, Planar Ally, Insect Plague, Planar Binding. Spirit Guardians is a big one for this build. Command, Create or Destroy Water, Glyph of Warding, Mass Healing Word, Animate Dead, Bless, Hold Person, and Spiritual Weapon. So that's what we're going to go for our spells there. What's nice about the Cleric is you can swap these out at any time. So if you just go into your log by pressing K, you can swap them out. these are the spells that we always have prepared, which is all the fire ones and destructive wave. Then we have a couple class actions here, which is a core component of the build. And then I guess we go back to here. For our Paladin spells, we don't get to choose them if we only take one level of Paladin. But that gives us the heavy armor. And then what's really interesting about the class combination here is the Paladin mixed with the Cleric actually gets a lot of unique dialogue options, because you're gonna be a Paladin of whatever deity you chose at the start of the game, or when you chose the Cleric subclass. So very interesting. Our typical way about going about things was we want to have our spiritual weapon up, so we can call that in ahead of battle there. So it only lasts for 10 turns, so you can cast this in the very first turn of battle. Spiritual weapons are very nice, just for spreading out aggro. But the big thing, the reason that I want to go all the way into the Cleric is the planar ally is extremely powerful. We get a Cambion, a Diva, or a Genie, and they have really powerful spells as well. So the Diva has Revivify, so you can revive your teammates if you need a Concussive Smash and Wrathful Smite. Cambion has Raining Kiss, Raise of Fire, and Fiendish Charm, and the Genie has Sweet Plum Gales, Thunder Wave, and Drunken Inhale. So, really nice. These are super powerful. I'll just call in the Genie here just to show you guys what it looks like. It's like the Genie from Act 3. And then the Genie has its spells here. So Thunder Wave, it has a main weapon attack, and its attacks are actually quite strong, like for a summon. Sweet Plum Gale, so it restrains those that are within it. Drunken Inhale, compel foes towards you with an intoxicating wind that makes them drunk. So that's a pretty funny spell. You can use that to kind of like mess with the enemies there. Now, we'll get into gear in a second, but also you can summon in Flaming Spear. This is a concentration, so just be mindful that you can't have your Spirit Guardian up. Guardian of Faith is another option, so you can call that in. And if you have a wizard with the Globe of Invulnerability, if you have him on the edge, they'll attack him and he'll be protected. It's pretty nice. And then we also have the Glyph of Warding and Glyph of Warding Sleep. If we have our Create Undead here, which you want to have these popped up as much as you possibly can outside of combat, they don't get affected by the sleep glyph. So you can actually start combat, which is funny. You can do Create Water, so you can get everyone wet. And when you do Create Water, it's like people don't start aggroing on you. So you can do this. It'll actually show any invisible creatures as well. And then having that water surface there for any of your teammates with lightning damage or ice damage, cold damage, you can deal an incredible amount of damage. And then also you could also do like a cold glyph of warding or a lightning warding glyph, which will have upwards of 80 damage. And you can upcast it and it'll get even crazier. So 112 damage at max, which is really nice. It will have your fire damage, so just be mindful of that. And we're really focused on the fire damage. Another concentration is Wall of Fire, which is really nice just for crowd control purposes. I'm not going to cast it because it will aggro Scratch if we attack anything here. But a really big focus we want to have is our Spirit Guardians up. And you can also upcast this to do 5 to 40 damage. And if we had a level 6 spell, which we're using for the Planar Ally, you could have done that as well. There's ways to regain your spell slots. But Spirit Guardians turns you into a Beyblade. Now, our armor class is 27 here. And what makes this build so powerful is we want to be kind of like in the middle of things. We do get heavy armor proficiencies, but I think that is best to just stick with like medium armor. Armor of Agility with the Dexterity Gauntlets is a crazy powerful combination, but there's a lot of other ways we can go about doing this. We also go with the Constitution Amulet to give us a little bit higher Constitution saving throw check, advantage on Constitution saving throw checks, which we did get from the Warcaster, so you can go either way there. As far as rings go, I think that the ring for Crypt Lord is great because that Create Undead, the mummy, is very strong, and it just goes alongside this build well too. The Ring of Regeneration is good too, especially if you have any of the armor that gives you the abilities on heal. So there's gloves that'll give you the, I don't think I have it on this playthrough, but there's the gloves that'll give you the Blade Ward on heal, so you can give that to yourself, and then when you use Mass Healing Word, it'll give everyone else the healing effect, and then there's the one that'll give you Bless as well. So those are very powerful. I like the boots to give a +1 armor class just because armor class is important, and I'm using the Defender's Flail, which has a +1 armor class too, with 7 to 17 damage. But you can also, I think a really good option to go with is the Marka Heshker Staff. Now this is one of the most powerful weapons in the game because you can do something with it that's very powerful. We can get Kareska's Favor, it's the dragon god. We can go with the fire one. The fire one will increase the fire damage that we do. So it gives us resistance, increases, gives our proficiency bonus of fire damage. It's nice because we do get 2 fire spells. But I actually think the cold one and the lightning one work a little bit better. In particular, the lightning one, because if we use this, it gives us 2 spells here. It gives us chain lightning, so this is a level 6 spell that we can just cast. It's free. We also got arcane battery, so we can use that to recharge and then do another level 6 spell. So you could potentially even just use the arcane battery to do an upcasted spirit guardians, and then you get the radiant damage and lightning damage. So the light cleric, well, a lot of people say it's focused on fire damage. It's actually good for all types of damage, especially if you're using a staff like this. Now, if you wanted to go more of the paladin route, I would focus more on strength and then use a strength weapon. I guess the defender flail is a pretty good one with the +1 armor class. And then your smites is going to be a big focus on the damage. So smites with the spirit guardians, you'd have to take 5 levels of paladin to make it worthwhile, because that way you'd be able to get the enhanced attacks, the 2 attacks, which is really nice. But I honestly think that the light cleric works best as just a full-on blaster, and losing 1 level is not bad because we get the main spell that we want, the conjure the genie there, and then with that extra 1 level we get all the awesome dialogue options. So I do think this is the best way to build the cleric. It's a very powerful class, and the light cleric's honestly like an S tier class. Even with this armor alone, we can get upwards of 27 armor class, and if we had the ring that gives up +1 armor class and the cloak that gives a +1 armor class plus that weapon, we would have a 29 armor class right now. And that's not even wearing heavy armor. If we threw heavy armor on, it would change things a little bit, but I guess it would stay at the same roughly, depending on what your dexterity is. But that is a light cleric paladin build guide for Baldur's Gate 3. You get some really cool dialogue options with this class. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you found this video useful, please hit the subscribe button below, and I'll see you all in the next video.